This is going to be a shorter video, largely consisting of me yapping at you while only occasionally throwing shit up on the screen. Now, before I get into the meat of the topic, I'll clarify what the aim of this channel is. It is, of course, a story analysis channel for Reverse 1999, but even within that, my primary focus will be on two things. Firstly, the worldview of the writers. Secondly, their storytelling. The previous video I made, my very first video, sought to explore an aspect of the worldview. Now, with that established, the purpose of this specific video is to establish the general framework I will be using here and henceforth in my videos for this topic, while also doing a rudimentary analysis to clarify it. So, the framework is like this. Generally speaking, there are five aspects to a story: characters, themes, narrative, atmosphere, and setting. I've listed them in this order because that's how I personally value them most to least. So let's look at them one by one. The characters of Reverse 1999 are incredibly varied. We have a talking apple, a philosophical and intelligent dog, Rusalka, a sheep-human hybrid girl, Succubus, a wheelchair-bound movie director, a chimera explorer girl, and many, many others. And the arguably more impressive part is that every single playable character, and a bunch of NPCs too, all have at least some depth to them, even ones who haven't gotten much story content. Take Door as an example. He's a playable character who appears simply as a piece of glass. You'd think he's just a joke. Actually, he's a fragment of a mirror that formed at the very beginning of life on Earth, and said mirror reflected the life and death of everything. And Dor himself, as a fragment of this mirror, can reflect various things on his body and uses this to learn people's wishes and show them what they want. However, he has his own struggles with this, as we see in his interview with Pandora Wilson. So with Dor, they managed to take a ridiculous concept, wrap a bunch of interesting and intriguing lore around it, and then ground it in a reality that we can relate to and understand. I could go on forever about the characters of this game, so I'll just leave it at this. There are several themes that are core to the game: fate, cycles of history, pursuit of truth, individuality in the self, the treatment of the other, etc. Along with this, every patch tends to have one theme more unique to it alone, especially among event patches. There are countless videos I can make on the themes, so I won't say much here, but I do want to look at one clever trick Reverse 1999 uses with its themes in their stories, and that is layering and intertwining them to create richer, textured themes. To explain this, I'll take 2.5 aka Showdown in Chinatown as my example. The core theme of that patch was around individuality and self, which it looks at through the lens of people playing roles. Everyone in their life is playing roles, and in order to truly understand yourself and others, you need to look past these roles to see and understand the true selves. It intertwines this theme with the theme of justice and what it means by showing that justice is always colored by personal biases, and that in order to have true justice, you need to have the aforementioned ability to see through the roles, to understand your own self, and to understand and empathize with others, even the so called villains. This is clean, it's meaningful on a deeper level, it's easy to pick up on, it's impactful, and most importantly, it's entertaining. I can keep talking about this aspect of the game forever, but it's time to move on. There's not much specifically for me to say about the narrative of Reverse 1999 beyond it's really interesting and is constantly evolving, all while skillfully balancing multiple storylines. But well, for this section of the video, what I specifically want to focus on is one aspect of this narrative and how it's conveyed, which is the exposition, or rather the lack thereof. For this is a story where we are thrown headfirst into this brand new setting, following a main character who is very familiar with said world, is competent, intelligent, and thoughtful, without openly saying every single thing going through her mind out loud. Characters don't spend much time explaining things to each other, and they never explain things they already know, nor they repeat information egregiously. In effect, the narrative here is one that trusts the reader, and expects them to be capable of putting the pieces together. And it is this understanding of nuance and subtlety, this respect, that enables them to craft a wonderful story. Now, when it comes to atmosphere, I think the most standout feature in this game is really the sheer variety. Every single patch in this game has its own unique vibe and style. No repetition whatsoever. So for this section, I'll simply show each and every patch cover accompanied with the soundtrack in a nice montage.
We are here together. Time is now or never.
And I think that conveys what I want to say better than I ever could with mere words. And with that, let's move on to a final section. I personally think that the setting is the least important aspect of a story, as I believe you can tell an interesting story in even the most mundane setting. In fact, a bunch of my favorite stories of all time across all forms of media are ones with relatively mundane settings. Nevertheless, the setting of R 1999 is still something to consider in how it enables the storytelling. So, for this, I'll look at two things, which are pretty much the main things I find interesting about the setting here. So, first things first, the very premise of the game, the star. The thing that makes it special isn't just the concept itself, it's how it enables the story to accomplish several narrative experiences while avoiding the typical pitfalls of time travel type stories, because here they manage to utilize it in a way that not only doesn't feel like it reduces the stakes, but also increases them in several ways and allows for some uniquely meaningful and emotionally resonant moments. We look at Kiparina's character story as a great example of this. In that story, we see her in a post 80s storm period of the 70s. She has lost her adoptive parents, her home, her era, and is still trying to figure out how to cope with that loss. During the story, she ends up meeting an alternate version of her biological mother and siblings, and through them is able to learn about her own past. Then, with them, she visits her former home, Troutanyaya Circus, where she finds out it's not the same, that everything is different. And so, she's able to get closure on her past, her identity, and resolve her grief, all without affecting the stakes or the sense of loss. Now, for the second thing, I'll look at how the game shapes its lore to match its storytelling, with its conception of fate as my example, examining how they adapted to suit the themes and ideals they seek to explore. The key thing with this game's portrayal of fate is the way it seeks to connect fate to the concept of time and the ever repeating cycles of history across time. This is why they opted to combine the concepts of the threads from Greek myth that connect to people, the nons from Norse myth, who directly connect fate and time in a sense by having them based in past, present, and future, and the wheel of fate or fortune, which spins yet does not inherently shift, for it is a repeating cycle, even if it can vary in where it is at any given moment in time. And the idea it seeks to explore by having the system of fate get well fucked up is the way this cycle can be escaped and broken, because that is the only way we as a society can progress. That's all for this video. It was a shorter and simpler one, meant more as an introduction to my channel and what it's about, as well as to my general framework and approach to my analysis. Thank you for watching and see you next time.